Education meeting of September 21st, 2021 at 7:03 p.m. Can everyone please rise as Student Board Member Darlene Aguirre Castañeda leads us in the flag salute. As we begin the flag salute, I'd like to remember 3 members of the Shadow Hills High School family who recently lost their lives. Alumni Isaiah Ortega Dage and senior Oscar Juarez Barrios died in unrelated automobile accidents. The Desert Sands family also mourns the loss of Shadow Hills teacher Christopher Trujillo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call will reflect that all the cabinet and board members are present either in person or virtually. Item number 7, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting on August 31st, 2021?
So moved, Linda Porras.
Motion by Linda Porras. Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? If no further questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? That carries 5-0.
Excuse me, I have to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. All those abstaining?
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0-1. Okay. 7.1, minutes of the regular meeting of August 31st, 2021. Mr. Bailey, is there any addenda to this evening's agenda?
No, there is not.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved, Linda Porras.
Motion by Linda Porras. Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Second, Darlene Aguirre.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if no further questions, preferential vote.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? It carries 5-0. Okay. 10, community staff student recognition. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. I'd like to invite up our Public Information Officer, Ms. Mary Perry.
Thank you very much. School is really just kicking in, so I don't have many things to tell you right now about the incredible things that our staff and students are doing, so I'll be back next meeting to tell you more. And normally, our Director of Community Engagement at the Foundation is behind the scenes, and so I do the report on the winners of our incredibly talented gift boxes, harvest boxes. But tonight, he's actually here. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean Webb so that he can tell you about our winners for the past 2 months, right? Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mary. For the last, actually 3 months, we have our winners for June, July, and August. We have an amazing partnership with CV Harvest Box. I don't know if any of you guys are users of the Harvest Box. I know some of our staff are and so forth, but they'll deliver produce that's taken right from the Coachella Valley, and they'll bring it right to your home. It's pretty amazing. But we had over 100 nominations over the summer, and the following individuals won a CV Harvest Box. Veronica Correa Rosas, the Executive Assistant of Educational Services. Diane Romero, Lyndon B. Johnson Instructional Coach. Daisy Dominguez, Washington Charter School Site Monitor. Sean Simon, Desert Sands Security Agent. Lee Baird, Coordinator of Accountability and Assessment. And this doesn't happen all the time, but an entire group of a staff was nominated, and they were selected at random. So all of the LBJ site monitors are receiving a harvest box as well. Lydia Luna, Janae Lee, Lenore Gordon, Ramona Ortiz, Sandra Alaman, Kim McCarthy, and Carmelita Murray. It's just very exciting because I already looked for this month of September, and here we are only at the 21st. We're already over 50 nominations. I know that's just continue to grow. This is just an amazing program, and thank you for letting me oversee it. Those are our winners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 11.1, introduction of new or recently promoted employees. Dr. Hyde.
Good evening. I am pleased to introduce Megan Peterson, Program Specialist with Student Support Services. Mrs. Peterson graduated from San Diego State University with a bachelor's degree in liberal arts. She earned her multiple subject credential, special education credential, and master's in educationals and special education from California State San Marcos, and both her preliminary administrative credential and master's degree in educational leadership from Brandman University. Mrs. Peterson has worked in the field of education since she was 18 years old. She has held positions as a paraprofessional, long-term substitute, and special education teacher intern. While serving as a paraprofessional in a special education classroom, Mrs. Peterson was inspired to earn her education specialist credential. Over the past 3 years, Mrs. Peterson has taught kindergarten through adult transition programs and served as a special education teacher on special assignment and program specialist in another district. Mrs. Peterson has been a Teacher of the Year at the site level twice and the District Teacher of the Year once. She and her husband Charlie have 2 children, Gwen and Will. She enjoys playing with their 2 dogs, traveling and spending time on the Colorado River. She is very excited about the opportunity to work for Desert Sands, especially because she resides within the district's boundaries. She's eager to serve the families and students that live here. Welcome to Desert Sands, Mrs. Peterson. Please introduce yourself and say a few words. And your guests, please.
Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome. I'd also like to thank my family for being here and supporting me. This is my 17th year in education and 17 years in special education. I've lived in the Valley for 12 years now, and when I first moved here, I really wanted to work for Desert Sands, and I'm so excited that now I am finally a team member at Desert Sands School District. So thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Could you introduce your guests, please?
Oh, this is my husband, Charlie, and my children, Gwen and Will. Thank you.
Mrs. Pierce, do you have any comments?
I'd like to welcome Mrs. Peterson, and so happy that she could reach her goals of working for Desert Sands. We definitely need her, and she'll be a great asset. Thank you.
Porras, do you have any comments?
Yes, welcome, Mrs. Peterson. You have a beautiful family. So excited for you.
Ms. Jonathan, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to welcome Megan. First of all, I loved hearing that you started off as a paraprofessional and moved up the ranks. I think that gives you a different perspective than some people might not have. I'm very excited to have you in our district from someone who really wanted to get to Desert Sands as well. As a former teacher, I felt the same way as you do. I was very excited, and I'm glad that you're very excited as well to join our family. And I want to thank Charlie, Gwen, and Will for sharing your wife and your mom with our district. I'm looking forward to the wonderful things she'll be doing here.
President Griffith, do you have any comments?
Welcome to Desert Sands. I'm excited about your enthusiasm, and I hope we can provide you everything you need to be successful. Welcome.
Ms. Aguirre Castañeda, do you have any comments?
Yes, welcome to the district family, and I hope you make a great impact.
And welcome to Desert Sands. Thank you. Item number 12, information, Palm Desert High School's career, technical education, film and broadcasting pathway trip to New York City, New York, October 8th to 10th, 2021. 13, staff conference items. Mr. Bailey.
Yes, this will be our first ASB report this school year, and also marks Darlene's exit from the board. So monumental in two ways. So Darlene, if you'd like to lead out with your ASB report and recognize the Indio High School staff and students present, that would be great. Thank you.
I'm from Indio High School, and I am the ASB president this year. And I would just like to say, Indio High School is a great community. and it's a great place to send your kids. It's very trustworthy and a friendly environment that I personally love to go. And I haven't missed school, so I like to go to school. And I feel like we do offer a lot of things, and our school spirit is especially there no matter what. And I want to thank all the teachers and the students that we have in this class, well, not in the class, but in our family of Rajas, and our principals and our administrations to do a great job of keeping us safe every day. And I want to give a big thanks to everyone who came here and to support the IHS. So thank you. And now we will be showing our board presentation of this year. We're here live at Indio High School with the Roger Report. We have some special announcements, Rajas. Wait, is that right? Are you sure? There's breaking news, Rajas. There has been a growing pandemic that has been occurring. Welcome back to Indio High School and the new Roger Report. And this year's 2021 ASB President.
I'm A.T. Guerrero, and I'm this year's ASB Vice President. For all of the distance learning students that talked about wanting to go back to normal, wanting to return to our campus that we once remembered, to see our amazing campus, our friends, and our wonderful teachers.
But as we started planning for the return back to campus, we realized we don't have to go back to how things were. We could come back to a campus that was even better than we once had. We had the opportunity to change. We could go back while also going into the future.
Indio High School is the oldest school in the district with deep traditions and a lot of history, but what lies ahead of us is far greater than what lies behind us. Our CTE programs at Indio High School make sure our students are prepared for their preferred careers. CET programs are 4-year programs that are not only prepared for our students for the future, but allows them to gain hands-on experiences. Our CTE programs also have allowed our students to be able to express themselves in different ways.
There, I was recommended to come to Indio High School and join the Impact Pathway. And since then, I have gotten experience that I probably couldn't even get at some college courses. Impact has so much equipment, so many diverse lessons, and so many opportunities for you to grow as a filmmaker, even as a person. I became more open and comfortable talking to people because of my work in Impact.
Our numbers in participation within extracurricular activities have increased and continue to grow. The associated student body has coordinated a club rush that excelled in gaining new participants for all of our clubs and teams on campus.
Raja athletes have been representing and showing out with their great spirit and ambition. This year, our Lady Raja volleyball team has been getting closer and closer to dominating their season with a record of 8-1. They're currently 4th in their division. Our Divine Golf team is currently 5-0. Our Raja football team is coming in strong with a new culture with the help of our new coach, Daniel Hayes. Not only do our Rajas excel with our amazing academic opportunities here at Indio High School, our sports teams and clubs continue to grow with pride.
I think Indio High School has really thrived through this experience because we have always valued our relationships. And I think our students value each other, I think our staff value each other, and our students and staff equally have that kind of respectful relationship. And it's not new. It has been here for the 22 years that I have been at Indio High School. It is why I never want to be anywhere else, and why every student recognizes that there's really only 2 types of people in this world: Rajas and those that wish they were.
Positivity, respect, integrity, determination, and excellence. We will continue to demonstrate what it means to be a Raja as we come back to Indio High School campus. We also come back to a whole new way of looking at school. We don't simply want to just go back, but we want to embrace the future.
This year, the Rajas are finding new ways to shape what it means to have Raja pride. We're embracing our strengths and growing in the areas necessary. As we come back to campus, we come back to the future of being a Raja.
Kind of Indio spirit of moving forward with integrity and determination in order to make everything possible has made, I think, for a new school year where so many new things are possible, along with a new gratitude and appreciation for what it is that we're doing here.
Having people like Mr. Pimentel and our classified staff call them day in and day out and go to their houses, and having Claudia's Closet here to provide clothing, and having the secret art room personal supplies available, and having the cafeteria provide food that people could come and grab and take home. I think we just learned that connection is at the core of what we do here.
On behalf of ASB, it has been a pleasure to present Indio High School, where Rogers will continue to rise as one.
Thank you very much, Darlene. Appreciate it. And way to go, Rajas. Appreciate you being here to support Darlene this evening. And Darlene, to commemorate your service to the board and also the community, I have a plaque for you I'd like to administer right now.
Thank you. I guess I'm one of those lucky people that gets to call herself a Raja. So that's... Me too. Yeah. Okay. Indio High School staff and students, you are more than welcome to exit at this time should you wish to do so, or you are more than welcome to stay for the duration of our meeting. And we'll take a brief pause. Okay, as we move on, okay, as we go along, number 14, public hearing, there are none. 15, discussion. This is our COVID-19 updates. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, I'll quickly defer over to Dr. Hyde for personnel services updates.
Great, thank you. I'm pleased to report that the district is making good progress on our vaccine verification system. To date, we've collected the vaccine verification status for over 65% of our employees. I'm very proud of our sites and departments that have worked diligently to collect this vital information.
Thank you. Dr. Vollmer, Education Services.
Thank you. Just a couple of updates this evening. The first is in regard to Assembly Bill 104. As a reminder, on July 1, the legislature passed Assembly Bill 104, and Section 2 of this bill, entitled Grading Requirements for High School Students in the 2021 academic year, required districts to grant a request from parent or guardians of a pupil who is enrolled in high school during the 2020-2021 academic year to have a letter grade earned for any course during that year as reflected on their transcript changed to a pass or a no pass grade. After the passing of this legislation, families were notified of this option and requests came in and were filled. On September 9th, the legislature adopted AB 167, which was the budget trailer bill aimed at cleaning up some of the language in Assembly Bill 130 and Assembly Bill 104. So the cleanup language extended the date by which students could request a change to their transcripts, and that date now is October 1st of 2021. So any remaining requests will be filled until that due date. And then my second update is just on the Horizon Virtual Academy. As you know, they had a very strong showing of students interested in that option for this school year. And so educational and technology services team members have worked to really get those sites set up in classes, help them running to provide teacher support. And currently, as an update to the board, the enrollment at Horizon Virtual Academy is 754 students.
Thank you, Dr. Vollmer. Laura Fisher, Student Support Services.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Last Saturday, the district, in partnership with Riverside University Health Systems Behavioral Health, held our first annual Health and Wellness Fair at Indio High School. Many thanks to our mental health and our student assistance program team for planning and organizing this community event, along with our wonderful Indio High School principal, Derek Lawson, and his students from the Health Academy for hosting, welcoming, and providing a wonderful venue. We had over 24 community agencies there sharing knowledge, expertise, and information about their services to promote wellness in the community. Fine Food Bank was there providing diapers and food, workshops for parents and children regarding important mental health issues, and a COVID-19 vaccine clinic. Truly a one-stop shop for health and wellness. When communities come together, it is a message of hope that can assist in these truly challenging times. In that same vein, Desert Sands launched our Start with Hello Week yesterday across the district. This program teaches students in grades TK through 12 to help their peers in a fun and meaningful way. They take small but powerful action to promote inclusion and to support students who are showing signs of loneliness or social isolation. Sites have a variety of meaningful and fun activities that connect and unite, that include Hello Day, kids reaching out to maybe 5 students that they don't know well, I'm a Friend Day, where they wear yellow to promote friendship and reach out to students maybe sitting alone at a buddy bench or at lunch. Green Shirts Day for suicide prevention, Kindness Day, lessons around communication and community building, and then meet a new person at lunch and write 3 things you learned. These are just some of the activities. The school sites have a variety of activities throughout the week. And we know due to COVID, all students can empathize with the feelings of isolation due to physical and social distancing. Start with Hello is an important social and emotional learning program to reintroduce students to the power of connecting and helping one another. We also, in regards to COVID-19 quarantines and testing, Riverside County Public Health provided information about a modified quarantine that's now available for staff. Previously, only staff who were vaccinated and asymptomatic were allowed to not follow the typical 10-day quarantine as long as they remain asymptomatic. Now, unvaccinated staff have an opportunity for a modified quarantine. With a negative PCR test taken after day 5 from exposure, employees can return to work on day 8 instead of completing the 10-day quarantine. Our COVID safety plan will be updated with this new guidance. Also, in collaboration with Living Fit Nation, the district is offering voluntary opportunities for COVID-19 PCR testing for both employees and students. Flyers with the information and registration are available on Mr. Bailey's Super Seconds on our district website and messaged to our families by each school site. Testing clinics are available for students Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 5:30 at assigned sites, and staff have opportunities at their own designated sites where they work and the afternoon clinics. In addition to the COVID vaccine clinic held at the Health and Wellness Fair last Saturday and other clinics earlier in the month, we have additional clinics scheduled at DEC North on September 30th from 3 to 7, Saturday, October 2nd from 9 to 12, and Thursday, October 21st from 3 to 7. Information and registration also available on Mr. Bailey's Super Seconds. Additional vaccine clinics, including flu shots, will be scheduled for November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. And we'll wrap up with Mr. Aquino, Business Services.
Over the last 2 weeks, we've received complaints from parents reporting that some of our restrooms were without soap dispensers. We come to find that since last Friday, 68 soap dispensers were vandalized and had to be replaced. Not only were the soap dispensers vandalized, but school urinals, toilets, and bathroom stalls as well throughout the district. All this vandalism is being fueled by a disturbing TikTok social media trend encouraging vandalism and theft, especially in our restrooms in schools across the nation. This TikTok challenge, called Devious Lick, encourages students to steal items from campuses without being caught, and then post photos or videos of these actions. Stolen and damaged items range from towel dispensers, soap dispensers, disposable masks, toilets, and even fire alarms. These actions cause a disruption to the teaching and learning environment, present potential health and safety hazards, and are subject to consequences and/or legal action. TikTok has reported that it is removing this type of content from their media platform, but the challenges still keep emerging online in different variations. We are asking parents and our community to help support your students' school in curbing these acts of vandalism and theft. Parents or students can report knowledge of incidents directly to school staff or anonymously on PSST, which is an icon found at the bottom of our homepage on the district's website. I'll transition to food services for our independent study program. Although the state does not require us to provide meals to students participating in distance learning, Desert Sands will be providing student meals for our distance learners at Summit Horizon School every Monday from 9:30 to 10 a.m. for parent/student pickup, starting on October 4th. Information about the distance learning meal program and how to order if your child participates in distance learning will be sent out to families via Peach Jar flyer and other communication mediums from the district. Stay tuned for additional information. In addition, for food services, we continue to face food service supply chain issues this year due to the pandemic, disrupting manufacturing, supply, and distribution across many industries. Our food services team has been managing shortages in staffing, last-minute cancellation of partial or entire food orders, substitution of food products, and the list goes on. Many of these issues can upend our carefully planned operations, but our food services staff continues to deliver time and time again. They provided our community in its greatest time of need. Let's not forget their support and lean in support of our food services staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino. That concludes our remarks on item 15.1.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. We now move on to public comments on open session items. Before we start, I'd like to read out a couple of reminders. The board president shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent disruption by any individual or group or any conduct or statements that threaten the safety of any person or persons at the meeting shall be grounds for the president to terminate the privilege of addressing the board. The board may remove disruptive individuals and order the room cleared if necessary. In this case, members of the media not participating in the disturbance shall be allowed to remain, and individuals not participating in such disturbances may be allowed to remain at the discretion of the board. When the room is ordered clear due to a disturbance, further board proceedings shall concern only matters appearing on the agenda. When such disruptive conduct occurs, the superintendent or designee shall contact local law enforcement as necessary. Also, as stated at the last board meeting, seating of minutes will no longer be allowed. Everyone gets their 3 minutes. Thank you. And I will now turn it over to Ms. Porras.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. This is online public comments from Catherine Corson to be read aloud. Good evening, board and cabinet members. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude for everything the district is doing to keep our children safe. I have 3 children in your district, and all of them are thriving at school. They have complained more about the kids they have to sit by at lunch more than they have about wearing masks. I know our schools are doing their best to keep our children safe, and I feel great about them being back in the classroom. I would like to take a moment to remind you that just because there is a large group of parents that seem to be the loudest, it does not mean they are the majority. Everywhere you look, you can find a critic, and by critic, I mean those pain in the butts who only like to whine and to be contrary purely for the sake of it. These critics may be the loudest, but let it be known that they do not represent the majority. Just as it was recently proven in the recall for Gavin Newsom. Just because they may seem they are the majority, they are not. Therefore, I ask that before you oil the squeaky wheel, please be reminded that the vocal minority are just those critics mistaken as representing the opinions of the masses, when they are truly just a handful of loudmouths that misrepresent themselves as the mouthpiece of a larger subset of the community. In reality, they are just trolls and/or community members with big mouths that do not represent the sentiments of the whole group. Respectfully, I ask that you stand up to these bullies and continue to take the appropriate measures to keep our students safe. Thank you. Communication from the floor. In accordance with bylaws of the board, number 9323, 62519, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items shall have a 3-minute limit and should indicate their intention at this time. In accordance with the law, decisions of the board cannot be made on any matter not previously published before the board meeting, as indicated by the bylaws of the board, number 9323.2, 62519. Lynn Russo.
Money, power, fear, control. I'm Lynn Rousseau, and I'm a taxpayer in this school district. You've been hearing about masks, vaccines, critical race theory, that divisive doctrine disguised as ethnic studies. On their website, the California Department of Education posts a coronavirus response and school reopening guidance, offering the most updated guidance for all schools to follow. Last March, the governor signed AB 86, COVID-19 Relief and School Reopening Grants, which require no application to receive funding. Money. The Department of Education states that schools are encouraged to follow the California Department of Health recommendations. Power. That means you are not required to follow their recommendations because they are not empowered to force you. That decision-making power is yours, resulting from research, statistics, data, facts, science, and common sense. Fear, control. There's a set of 8 steps proposed by a 20th century activist, which I'll focus on 2. Healthcare. Control healthcare and you control the people. Education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. If that sounds familiar, it's from Saul Alinsky's 8 Steps to Socialism. Please listen to the parents and the residents of this school district. It's your job. Money, power, fear, control. Oh, and fear is smart until you realize that you're afraid of the wrong thing.
Coughlin.
Hello. I'd like to talk about how when I came to school today, I have a shirt I got over the weekend. It says, Trump 2024, Save America. My teacher, my English teacher, was walking by, saw it and said, oh, fucking hell, and got pissed off. My history teacher said that the Republicans were the ones that owned all the slaves and the Democrats wanted freedom, which is completely backwards. And I also wanted to bring up that at my school, we're opening a new club that hasn't been active. Me and my math teacher called the Teenage Republican Club to give kids an option to learn about things in the Republican Party, what's going on in the Republican movement. And I think it'll be really beneficial. Another thing, if you continue to teach critical race theory and sex education, this generation will be the last generation and will be the next Roman Empire. You do not want that to happen to this country, because this country is the only country left that is free. And if the government has the power and the people don't, you're going to end up like Australia has. And that's why you need to listen to the people that pay you through their taxes instead of listening to whatever the teachers' unions or Gavin Newsom talks about. You need to listen to the science and the facts, not what CNN says, not what Dr. Fauci says, because he is wrong all the time. And my teacher was playing CNN for years until I brought it up to the vice principal, and they ended it, because my school, my teacher said it was the only thing available for kids to watch. They didn't have Fox News, One American News, Newsmax, even NBC or MSNBC wasn't available. And I asked, why don't you play Fox News? She said, that's too mature and inappropriate. Kids are coming in with Playboy shirts. We all know what that means. And kids are coming in, they're listening to very violent music, video games, and she's saying that the news is too, it's not safe for them. And she said, no, this CNN 10's different. It's down the middle, and it's unbiased. And I'm thinking, this lady's full of it. It's CNN. There's no way CNN's unbiased. And my school, thankfully, got rid of it. And I want to ask Dan Ball if you will help me make a news for students that they can watch. Because my school needs to have something for both sides instead of just the liberal point of view.
Good evening. I wish you didn't have your masks on. I can't understand you when you talk, actually. A couple of months ago, when I was here, I mentioned vaccinating young children. And in watching the news, I know I got a little agitated that night. In watching the news, though, we're an inch away from it. They're getting ready to approve a vaccine for children 5 and up. That is a bright, bright red line. When discussing what's in the best interest of children, we have a tendency to ignore the 5 million pound elephant in the room, and that is the living God. And he has something to say about it, about children. And I think it's important maybe to give this a listen. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And he called a child to himself and stood him in their midst and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself as this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Now, the kingdom of heaven, yes, it could be a place after life and all that, but it's a state of being. It's a state of God, the living God, and who he is. And children are, by their nature, innocent, and in that state of being, if you will. And further on down, he basically says, woe to the world because of its stumbling blocks, for it is inevitable that the stumbling blocks come, but woe to the man through whom the stumbling blocks come. And they talk about, millstone around your neck and all that. Well, we're kind of short of millstones these days, so there is actually something that is coming that might be a remedy for the situation. And my point is that vaccinating young children is actually an act against God. Now, you might not believe that, but because their nature and their simpatico, if you will, for lack of a better term, with who God is, you're actually, when you're harming children, it's a direct act against God. So I would highly recommend that you reconsider mandatory vaccines on young children. It's an abomination. It should not happen. And you really need to reconsider that. It's coming. We know it's coming. Say no to it. Thank you.
Hi, I live in Cathedral City, but I have 4 grandchildren in this school district, so I'm here, and I'm a taxpayer. I was here on the 17th, and I was unable to come on the 31st, and I wish I had, but Chase did a good job speaking for all of us on that day, and he did it again today, Chase. Y'all need to listen to him because he's braver than you, he's smarter than you, he has more courage than you. All right, I can see that you've already adopted the tyranny by your new rules about speaking. On August 17th, you all walked out on us. Shame on you. Maybe you didn't like what we were saying, but that's too bad because your job, again, you report to us, we pay for you, is to listen to us, not to walk out on us. Now, you might not have liked the fact that other people let Dan speak for them, and now you've changed the rules. Shame on you. It's my 3 minutes. I get to do what I want with it. I can speak. I could stand here silently and stare at you. I could let somebody else speak on my behalf. Or perhaps there's someone who's unable to speak, and so they let someone speak for them. What you've done is criminal, all of you. And what you're doing to our children is criminal. This masking of our children, I don't care what that lady said online. It's a joke. These masks don't protect you. They are unnatural. You can't assess a person. How are these children supposed to learn about people as they grow up? You can't even see their face. You look at it like aliens, like I'm on a different planet or something. And what we're seeing out there in our media, we've been duped by this thing. This is all political. The virus is real, certainly. But we've all been duped with these masks and the forced vaccines. We're entering into communism. And it's a shame that you're all buying into it. And we're here to tell you to stop. Stop with the CRT. You're teaching our children to be racists. I grew up being taught how not to be racist, how not to judge on color. I'm repeating myself, I know that. But it's important you hear it over and over again. You need to start listening to the parents and grandparents of our children, the taxpayers who pay for you, because if you don't, we will remove you. And that's not a threat. That's a promise. And it's happening all over the country. So why don't you grow some cojones and do something for the parents instead of for the unions and for Sacramento and Washington? It's time. And I'm sure you all have kids, grandkids perhaps. How do you do this to them? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and allow this to happen to our children? Unmask our children.
Guess I only get 3 minutes. All right, nice rule change. So I told you after you ignored us at the last meeting that we were going to dig to find out what motivates you. I told you we wonder who would hate our kids so much that they would make them wear masks when all the real science differs. Who would hate our kids so much to want to see them divided and molded into guilt-ridden victims? Who would revel in this being done while extending the middle finger to protesting parents? Do we deserve transparency and honest answers to our questions? Do we deserve to be gaslighted? Who is trying to infiltrate us? So I went digging. I dug, and I dug, and I dug some more. And when I looked up, I found myself at the Shanghai Municipal Education Commission, or SMEC. In the board minutes, it's SHMEC, SMEC, maybe to avoid being found. The SMEC is a department of the Shanghai Municipal People's Government. We know that as the Chinese Communist Party. The SMEC is responsible for party ideology and the centralized management for foreign exchange via the educational system. The DSUSD has been participating in educational exchanges with SMEC for more than a decade. Sounds expensive. Did we pay for that travel? I mean, 6 or so board members, administrators, teachers flying to China, staying in 5-star hotels, and all that sightseeing must cost a lot, right? No, we didn't pay for it. But before I tell you who did, I'd like to digress just a little bit to a speech by former Secretary of State and CI Director Mike Pompeo. On July 23, 2020, Pompeo gave a speech at the Nixon Library in which he informed us, that China's exploited our free and open society and sent propagandists into our schools, press conferences, our research centers, our high schools, and even our PTA meetings. At the 2020 National Governors Association meeting, he informed all the governors that the CCP had a dossier on each and every one of them. He informed that the Chinese government has assessed our vulnerabilities and decided to exploit our freedoms to gain control of us at the federal, local levels. They did this through friendship organizations such as the Confucius Institutes that were until recently at many of our universities. In 2019, a bipartisan Senate committee found that the CCP controlled nearly every aspect of the Confucius Institutes, and they used those organizations to pressure students to monitor Chinese students, even U.S. citizens. Pompeo stated that our students, or even China, should not feel the long arm of Beijing in America. In the September 2019 minutes of this board, we informed that the DSU has participated in educational exchanges for the CCP. I'm going to run out of time. Basically, you guys have traveled to China for 10 years to study their academics. They've come here to study our creativity. It was paid for by the CCP, all of it. So my question to you is, do you believe in a free lunch? What is China expecting from you? Thank you.
Last name.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you for letting me take this opportunity to speak on behalf of myself and fellow coworkers. This is difficult for me standing up here taking a stance as a teacher for our district, but I feel that I need to fight for something that I have worked so hard for. To start, I would like to begin with saying that I absolutely love my job, my team, and my school site. All of the staff at my school are like family to me. I am truly blessed, and most importantly, I am here for my students to help them grow socially, academically, and emotionally. That is why I am standing before you, the board, to please reconsider the vaccine mandates. Filling out the COVID-19 vaccination disclosure form was given to us on September 13th, violates my constitutional rights. The Equal Protection Clause, which establishes the laws of the nation should apply to all citizens equally. If our district wanted to treat their employees equally without discrimination, then why they would be testing both vaccinated and unvaccinated people? Why do I have to go through weekly testing when a person who is fully vaccinated can still get COVID and spread it? This science just doesn't make sense. I am exposing my medical rights not only by signing your document, but also by standing in line every week to get a test at my school site where clearly everyone will know my beliefs and status. Unfortunately and sadly, I don't think it's going to stop here. I am sure something is already in the works about vaccine requirements and a termination date for those who do not want to get vaccinated. I already got COVID back in December over Christmas break. Why would I get the vaccine when my antibodies are much stronger? Also, why am I going to take that risk with my body taking the vaccine and not knowing if there will be medical issues after the shot? I know people who have taken the vaccine and who have heart conditions and Bell's palsy that will not go away. These individuals are on leave from their work from being pressured to doing the right thing for their community. Are you as the district going to be responsible for any medical issues due to the vaccination for your employees? Also, if you're thinking about terminating staff members who choose not to get vaccinated, how are you going to replace all those valuable positions? We can't even get enough subs for our school districts right now. We as teachers are on the front line just as much as the medical field and first responders. We have been through the works with online teaching, hybrid, and now supporting all students with behavioral and emotional issues because of the unnecessary shutdowns of schools for the past year. Where are you going to find more dedicated and driven employees than the ones you possibly might consider letting go of in the future? And I pray to God that does not happen. So please tell me, why will assure soon enough I be forced to give up my passion for teaching because I want to stay healthy? Why don't we promote healthy eating, exercising, social-emotional learning to better our community? This vaccination is creating a divide in the entire world, and that is what we as teachers do not tolerate. We are there for each other no matter what. So please give us this choice. Thank you.
Hello, board. We meet again. I don't see the board president here. I know he's watching online. That's a shame. I feel ashamed. I feel that parents haven't stood up enough over the past year and talked with you, board, enough. So tonight, there's no speech prepared. There's no cameras here. I hope the media that is here covers it properly. I'm a little disgusted that you removed seats, trying to limit how many people are here. I think a lot of folks are disgusted you changed the rules, that people can't yield their time. There's a war veteran in the back that has PTSD. He's afraid of public speaking. He wanted me to speak for him, but I don't know if Don or this entire board changed the rules. But that's uncalled for, and I think the majority of this board knows better. I'm pretty sure the president doesn't. Let's talk about a few things, shall we? That teacher, are you listening to some of your teachers? This isn't a right-wing conspiracy. This isn't crazy Trumpers. These are concerned parents, like I am, of an 8th grader at one of your schools. And I'm concerned. I've had parents on my national talk show tell me about the side effects their kids have had. One is paralyzed from the neck down. That's one too many. Now, I get some folks on the board, probably Don, because he's in the age bracket that should be concerned, are probably fearful of this virus. And they should be. It's a deadly virus. But kids aren't affected by it. Follow the science. Speaking of the science, I know you guys do research on this stuff. I hope you do. Do me a favor when you get home. Will you please look up a new video that dropped yesterday from Project Veritas, in where a health and human services nurse working in one of the largest hospitals in Phoenix, Arizona, who works for the federal government, blew the whistle with her identity and her badge and came forward. She's got video of doctors and nurses saying they don't report how many side effects because it takes too long and no one cares, the CDC. Go look it up. There's a doctor on there saying the vaccine is shit, it doesn't work. That's a federal employee saying it on camera. Do you guys look any of this stuff up? Do you care to look it up? Or do you just take your marching orders from Sacramento, which, by the way, are guidelines? You don't have to follow them. When it comes to this vaccine, please do not mandate that you put this poison into our children. You've already maxed them for what?
The classified bargaining unit. I want to start with a thank you to Superintendent Bailey and our assistant superintendents and to the DSTA president for the monthly planning and collaboration meetings that we have. I think one of the things that makes Desert Sands a great place to work is that we are able to come together and talk about issues affecting our students and staff. I'm excited about returning to the negotiations table and working on our full successor agreement. We find ourselves in an interesting labor market right now, with districts facing difficulties finding substitutes and filling vacancies. I want to give Dr. Hyde and Chad Wood a shout out because I appreciate all the work being done in personnel. I've had the opportunity this week to visit several school sites, and earlier this evening I met with a large group of classified members that included the vehicle and equipment technicians, custodians, groundskeepers, and others. And while the general vibe was positive and everyone is excited to be back with students, there is also an underlying current of stress and anxiety. The pandemic has been an extraordinary challenge, and there continues to be added pressure on our office staff members in dealing with positive cases, notifying parents, and following up regarding quarantine procedures. As Mr. Aquino mentioned, there's a recent trend on social media that's impacted our custodians and maintenance department at several sites and added to their workloads. Our special education staff and paraeducators have been stretched thin trying to meet our student services needs. And I bring these things up to encourage our district leadership to be mindful of these pressures, and I want to challenge them to find ways to be more supportive and more receptive to our staff. We find ourselves as a district assaulted by outside forces and attitudes, and this is a moment to build strong bonds of teamwork in order to continue to provide an excellent educational experience for our students. It is a time to appreciate the staff we have and continue to be the district of choice to attract new, hardworking, and dedicated individuals. Thank you.
Keith Lathrop.
How's it going? My name's Keith Lathrop. I grew up in this valley. I went to Lincoln Elementary, Palm Desert Middle, Palm Desert High. I still live here. I work in construction. My wife's in healthcare. Our son is in the first grade. He goes to Washington Charter School. I'm here to be his voice. After my son's first day of school, he said, "Daddy, I can't see anything in class because my mask keeps fogging up my glasses, and I'm afraid to walk down the stairs because I don't want to trip and fall." I said, "Just wear it on your nose. I'll talk to your teacher and make sure that you don't get in trouble." I didn't think anything of it until last week when we were reading at home, and he says, "Oh, it's so much easier to read here. I don't have to hold my breath to see the pictures." And I said, "Man, we talked about this." He goes, "Well, the librarian makes me wear the mask over my nose, and I told her I can't see and it's hard to breathe, but I'm getting really good at holding my breath." Just saying that makes my blood boil. I mean, this kid can't get a break. Last year he went to school with no mask, but got bullied for wearing glasses. This year he goes to school with a mask and gets bullied for how he wears it. At least last year he's being picked on by the kids and not the faculty at his school. My sweet boy suffocates himself every day so that he can read without getting in trouble. How is this not child abuse? And what is it all for? He's already had and recovered from COVID. His chances of reinfection are less than 1%. Even if he didn't have the natural immunities, I wouldn't be worried. Healthy kids are COVID killers, not the other way around. The American Academy of Pediatrics cites that only 0.01% of the 5.3 million kids who've tested positive for COVID have died, and almost every one of those cases had a comorbidity. So wouldn't it be more prudent to protect the 0.01% of the children with underlying health conditions rather than force the burden of wearing a mask on the 99.99% of them who are at little risk? That would be like me saying that all children should be forced to wear glasses so that my son doesn't get picked on as much. It's ridiculous, but that's the logic you're using for the mask mandates. And it doesn't make sense, not if you're talking about the safety of our kids. If you're worried about the faculty, they've had every opportunity to be vaccinated by now. I know this is probably not going to change your mind, but I want to invite you to join the conversation. Nothing is more infuriating than having the conversation of our lifetime being followed up by our elected officials saying no comment, or we're excited about the district building being painted. I mean, you couldn't be more tone deaf if you tried. So when it's your turn to address the public, why don't you answer this question? For kids who have natural immunities to COVID, why is wearing a mask more important than their physical safety, health, and ability to concentrate in school? I'll repeat that. For kids who have natural immunities to COVID-19, why is wearing a mask more important than their physical safety, health, and ability to concentrate in school? We don't have to agree, but at least answer the question. I'd be happy to repeat it when it's your turn to comment. Thank you.
Varela.
I actually wish I didn't have to wear this, sit in child trafficking, because since the mask mandates, since 2020, over 1 million more children and people have been trafficked thanks to the masks. All All right. Well, I thought I was the only one going to bring a Bible today, but first I'd like to start out with, and a child will lead them. And that's why we're all here. And that's by Isaiah 11:6. And I'd like to read something else out of the Bible, which is my first time ever doing this in public. I will contend with those who contend with you, and your children I will save. I will make your oppressors eat. It gets a little graphic, but makes a point. Eat their own flesh. They will be drunk on their own blood as with wine. Then all mankind will know that I, the Lord, am your Savior, your Redeemer, and the Mighty One of Jacob. I don't know how many of you actually attend church, but it's something to think about. I don't have enough faith in me to be a non-believer, so hopefully something here will stick. I know maybe a couple of you might want to be on this side. Maybe something said here today will encourage you to do so. I don't know how many of you remember Albert Speer. He was actually Hitler's chief armament. He was his chief architect during the war. A couple of quick quotes. As headquarters, where everyone lived under the tremendous pressure of responsibility, probably nothing was more welcome than a dictate from above. That meant being freed of a decision and simultaneously being provided with an excuse for failure, which is obviously what's happening now. So I'd like to say to you, if you think you're just following orders, it's not going to hold up, because that's the Nuremberg Code. And one last thing, you mentioned the PCR test. I think you need to look it up. Gary Mullis, the inventor of the PCR, he said it was not designed for COVID and it was not designed for HIV. He was actually going to go to court and testify against Fauci. Yeah, he was going to testify against Fauci in 2019, but something happened to him. But look it up. Look up who was the inventor of the PCR test. Your statement there was wrong. Thank you.
All right, so I'm the veteran that Dan Ball was talking about. I didn't want to stand up here and talk to you guys because I don't know how to do it very well. I'd like to come over to this podium and show you what shaken baby syndrome looks like. Because some of you guys have no idea what you're doing. I really don't think so. Do you go home and look at yourself in the mirror, ever? Have you listened to anything that everybody says in here? I brought your mask for you. I'd like to kind of make some new ones for you. This is what you should be wearing. This is the mask that the board should be wearing. Are you listening to these people? I understand you've got some people online, people who are afraid to come in here and speak their minds because they're on the opposite side of this. But the reality is the people that come in here and speak right now are speaking from their hearts. They're concerned about our kids. I'm not here telling anybody. I don't want to tell anybody that they can't wear a mask or they can't get the vaccine. As a matter of fact, my brother Keith back here who just spoke, I just convinced my mother to get the vaccine. But I'm against the vaccine for me. Everybody has their own medical reasons to get it or not. Same thing with masks. No one's telling you you can't wear a mask. But if you would like to, you do you. Like, you do you. But don't make us do stuff that we don't believe or our kids don't believe is working. I'm going to read something to you real quick. If you have to be persuaded and reminded and pressured and lied to and incentivized, coerced and bullied and socially shamed and guilt-tripped and threatened and punished and criminalized, if all of this is considered necessary to gain your compliance, you can be absolutely certain what is being promoted is not in your best interest. Our governor was giving away money, taxpayers' money, to take a vaccine? Why do we have to incentivize people with money to take something that's supposed to help you? Because there's no science backing the validity of this. Now we need boosters? And you guys are forcing your employees to do such things when they're against it? When are you going to go home and look in the mirror and say, hey, we were brought into this to do a job, and we're here to listen to our people and our parents and our kids. Unfortunately, you guys right here and the coward that couldn't show up are legitimately putting our kids in more harm right now because you're forcing decisions. You're forcing medical decisions on people that you don't have to do because you're either worried about your own political gain, you're worried about your own career advancement. I mean, it's so bad that you brought law enforcement in here, not for us, but protects the morons from the mutiny from your bad decision making. I hope the recall comes through. I hope you all guys lose everything you have.
All right, good evening. Thank you for the time to speak tonight. This is my 25th wedding anniversary, but I'm here, so this is important to me. Before I begin, I want to note something that I observed along with Mr. Lathrop, that there's 4 sheriff's deputies here for the 9 of you up on the dais. My daughter goes to Palm Desert High School. There's 2,000 students there. There's 1 resource officer from the sheriff's department. There are, Meanwhile, there's no-go zones at that school. There's places she's been told you don't go into that bathroom, you don't ride the elevator at certain times of day, and my other daughter who went there said that kids were doing drugs in French class, smoking, stuff like that. So the good for thee but not for me attitude really disgusts me. I don't care for it. It's hypocritical at best. Now, continuing on my thoughts from last meeting about the vaccine and testing mandates, as I may have mentioned, my wife is a teacher here in Desert Sands Unified, and to be clear, nobody in my family will get that shot, ever. We've complied with the onerous mandates to this point, but the vaccine is absolutely our line in the sand. I hope that each of you had a chance to research the VAERS website I mentioned last time. If you recall, last time, 3 weeks ago, we were about 13,600 reported deaths. We're now over 15,000. In those 3 weeks, we've gone about 1,500 deaths reported, typically underreported. And we know that. That's a Harvard study proved that we're about 4 times underreported historically since that it's been in existence for the last 30 years. In addition, we have never tested or quarantined healthy people as we are doing now, never in our history. Testing my beautiful, healthy, and naturally immune wife is intrusive, humiliating, and it segregates her from her peers. Why aren't we testing vaccinated employees as well? After all, it's well known and understood and even admitted to by the CDC that vaccinated people can catch and spread this disease. In fact, in the most highly vaccinated countries in the world, Israel, Gibraltar, Iceland, we have like 95% vaccination rates. They're having the worst outbreak right now. No coincidence. Do you know what the vaccine even does? It tells your body at a cellular level to produce spike proteins. This has never been done before to human beings. Does anyone know how it tells you to stop making spike proteins? It doesn't. So you're basically a mutant. I mean, there's no off switch to this thing. Fauci's talking about approving this thing for kids aged 5 to 11. No way. There is no way. Kids aren't dying from this disease. People who have been vaccinated, I fear that many of the people who are vaccinated are going to have real problems this winter and spring as their immune systems are compromised by the shot. The vaccine is not the solution, it is the problem. Please reject it and reject the mandates. I have often heard the refrain from this board that we were just following the county, state, or federal orders. Well, if you're just rubber stamping mandates from unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats from hundreds or thousands of miles away, why don't you just dissolve the board and let us deal with them? This country was founded on the principle of local control, not central authority. Thank you.
Rachel LaCroix.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a parent of a Desert Sands Unified School District student. And I feel that a lot of this is for show. You always open with the Pledge of Allegiance, but you're not doing that in school. My daughter's classroom, my nephew's classroom, no Pledge of Allegiance, okay? Talking about safety, I wasn't allowed in here at first because there was too many people. Yet, this is probably 3 times the size of my daughter's classroom, and she has 36 kids in there. It's unbelievable. And yes, look at all of the security. What is that about? What are you afraid of? Actually listening to us? And Linda, you need to start listening to us. You especially. What you did last week, or the last meeting, was absolutely rude. I don't know if it's a lack of intelligence, lack of respect for parents and their concerns. An appropriate response would have been letting us know what the numbers in our own school district are, not what a great paint job we've gotten at the school district. It's unbelievable. It really is. So listen, Linda, we don't want our children wearing masks anymore. They don't work. If they did, we wouldn't be even having this conversation. I've had it. The vaccine, please don't bow down like LAUSD did and start making it a mandate for our kids to get vaccinated. It's not going to be okay. Keep your hands off of our children. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. First, I don't know if that's the only online communication you got. I doubt it, but I guess you wanted to read it so that you could bully us by calling us loudmouth trolls. So this loudmouth troll would like to talk about a couple things. Let's talk about your TikTok problem that you were describing earlier on. When you have people wandering out of retail stores all up and down this state because of the wonderful job that Gavin Newsom has done, releasing tens of thousands of felons, et cetera, and we don't prosecute those, you better buckle your seatbelts, because those kids are watching those television programs. They know that they can steal whatever they want and not be prosecuted. You're teaching them that by continuing to vote the way you do. Okay? Secondly, let's talk about abortion and vaccine and fetal tissue and HHS and the University of Pittsburgh. Okay? Those so-called vaccines are not. Evan was exactly right. And by the way, they cannot be switched off. Your body's producing spike proteins. Here's my source. Bill Gates' right-hand man, his name is Von der Bosch, spelled not like the car, B-O-E-S-S-C-H. He was his right-hand man. He quit. He said, we tried this over and over again. We couldn't stop it. You produce a spike protein in your heart, you're going to start dying. Okay? It can't be shut off. Secondly, it has fetal tissue in it. Now let's talk about HHS and the University of Pittsburgh. Last week they contracted with the University of Pittsburgh to farm organs out of aborted but viable children who had survived an abortion. Abortion, by the way, is the wholesale slaughter of a child inside of its mother's womb without the benefit of anesthesia and the hauling out of that child piece by piece. And you guys with CalSAC Ed, you're teaching these children to be sexually experimental, sexually active. If it results in abortion, no problem. We'll take little Susie down to Planned Parenthood. Well, she'll have an abortion without her parents knowing about it. Now, she has a 30% increased chance of contracting breast cancer later in life. My numbers come from the American Medical Association. This is what you're doing to our children. And finally, I will reiterate to you, 458 U.S. 747, that is 458 U.S. 747, look it up, New York v. Ferber, United States Supreme Court. When you have custody of a child and you're encouraging them to act in even a simulated sexual environment, and you have custody of those children, you have custody of them, along with the principals and teachers, etc. You are in violation of, let's say, a person is guilty of the use of a child in a sexual performance of knowing the character and content thereof, blah, 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 blah. Sexual conduct means actual or simulated sexual intercourse under the age of 16 is sexual abuse, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, 458 US 747. This has to be stopped. Ezekiel 33:8 says, if you warn somebody, and I'm telling you, when you hear 3 times from God in one night, and I didn't plan this, when you warn somebody, I won't account the blood to you, but it will be on their heads.
Kimberly Hetherington.
Good evening, Board. Last year, there were 8 brave parents that started this whole following. I'm one of them. Maybe it's because I'm an Aries and I'm just a natural born leader. Maybe it's because I was called Scoop while I was growing up. Maybe it's because I'm probably somewhere on the spectrum myself. Definitely have sensory processing disorder, just like my son. I retain information. And I remember the phone calls and the emails last year that wanted to talk about special advisory councils for parents of certain colors of skin. And I remember accidentally getting one CC'd back to me. Oops. Yeah, all of this segregation and division needs to stop. I am a dual citizen, US born. I am proficient in English and Spanish. I could probably run circles around you translating any of the documents for your school district because most of them are massacred. You all sit here and write off that you can't do things. And now you want to force vaccines likely on someone like my child. And I'm going to ask you this one question, and everybody here in this room too. Have any of you ever watched your child stop speaking? The child that was naturally developing gets vaccines and then just stops and regresses? Because that was my son. And I did this while my dad was dying, while I was in the midst of a divorce. We go through hardships that, you know, day-to-day life stuff, but we keep showing up and we keep doing things. My son cannot be subjected to that forceful vaccine. And it is within your power to make sure this doesn't ever happen. You're already in violation by testing your teachers and wanting them to get their vaccines because you're not protecting them in their privacy. You have no non-disclosure acts. You don't have them, and you can't be separating them at school. Every time that they need to go to school or every week, you can't be doing that anymore. That is against the law. That is a law. The rest of this is recommendations, cloth-wearing masks. They don't work. They do not work. Look up the size of the virus. Look up the size of the flu virus. They don't work for either one, and they say it on the box. And they're made in China. I don't care where they're made. That part I don't care about. That's all. It's focus. Please, stop this. Stop the tyranny, please. I'm not a bully, okay? My son's autistic. I am definitely not a bully. Learn some compassion yourself.
Evelyn Morales.
Hello, my name's Evelyn Morales. I was originally going to come up here and speak about some transportation issues I was having regarding my children. I just recently learned that high school students no longer get transportation, and it's a little difficult for me because both of my children start school at the same time. But after being here for a while, first of all, you guys have the most amazing patience I have ever seen or heard of. Apparently, because the minority of people are not here to speak on behalf, some parents here seem to have forgotten all of the other vaccines that are required for children to go to school, period, such as measles, such as polio. The fact is, this is something new, this is something different, I get that. I waited for myself to get vaccinated. I have asthma. Yes, I am not wearing a mask, but because I am social distancing. But I waited. I waited to see what side effects happen, what could happen. Thankfully, I did not get the Johnson & Johnson after finding out about the recall. My children did get vaccinated once it was approved by the FDA. I think it is your right to request us to get vaccinated because it's a public school. Our taxpayers are paying for it. And just like every other vaccine we had that the children are required to get, why is this one any different? Just because it's new? I get it. Let's get some more research done, but I have no problem with it, and I feel you guys should be able to hear that as well. 1. 2, I am beyond appalled on the constant preaching of the Bible in here. There's a separation between church and state. I am a practicing Catholic. I am a religious woman. I am married in the church, and I've done all my sacraments. I find it kind of ridiculous that everyone's in here preaching about it all. It's separation. We need to remember that. As for the sex education, that should not stop. There are a lot of children who try to speak to their parents, try to speak to other people, and they either get the wrong information or they just want them to practice abstinence. Abstinence does not always work. My children need to learn about the STDs. I have tried talking to my children. I have open communication with my children, but I have 2 teenage boys. They don't feel comfortable talking to me about certain things. They feel shy about their father. I gave them recommendations who I prefer they speak to get correct information. Why not their teachers as well? And this supposedly is going to get them, they're going to get pregnant and they're going to go to Planned Parenthood. Abortion is not something that people tread lightly. It is a difficult decision, and they need the time to make that decision, and it is something that they live with for the rest of their lives. Just because I know this from personal experience. Due to medical issues, I had to have an abortion while I was married, talking to my husband about it, and I live with it every day. So please do not stop that education. Thank you.
And that concludes public comments.
Thank you. We're going to go on to 17, board and superintendent comments. Ms. Aguirre Castañeda, do you have any comments? Comments. Ms. Pierce, do you have any comments?
No comment.
Ms. Porras, do you have any comments?
I just want to say to everybody that, yes, I do hear you. I do hear what you're saying. And yeah, I agree with you. It was insensitive for me to talk about the painting, so I'll be raked over the coals for that for a while, I guess. But I apologize for that. But I do hear what you're saying. And as soon as we can be safe, and I know that who knows when that's going to be, I've had several. My best friend's mother just died from COVID last week. I've had several friends and family that have died from this virus, and they didn't have any health issues. So it's a scary thing, and we're all scared. And, you know, bottom line is we do want our kids to be safe, and we want our families to be safe. So I also just want to say that I attended the memorial procession for Corporal Hunter Lopez. And my heart breaks for that family. I watch different shows where they show the surprise of showing the return of a military man come and surprise his family. And I can't even watch those because I think about him. He won't be surprising his family coming home. And he will forever be our hometown hero, and it breaks my heart for his family. And so, anyway, my prayers are for his family. And it was a beautiful procession. It was beautiful to watch the hearse go through the school. And I didn't know that they were going to do that. I thought they were just going to drive by in front of the school. And it was a beautiful thing. And he's the same age as my youngest son. So anyway, I just, and I also, my heart goes out to the families where we lost people at Shadow Hills this past week. So, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Jonathan, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just briefly, again, as board member Porras had mentioned, obviously our hearts go out for those that have lost members of their family, and specifically Hunter, the loss of Hunter. It's a very tragic loss in our community. I also wanted to talk briefly about Indio High School. You know, they did a presentation earlier, and I wanted to talk about how I heard great community, relationships, connection, and I think that we have a couple of members on our board that went to Indio High School, and I think that Indio High School is really a family. And I think that it's, you see it across the desert. If they went to Indio High School, you learn right away that they went to Indio High School. So I think it's a wonderful high school, and I want to commend the staff and for what a great job they're doing over there and creating that atmosphere of family. I also wanted to touch on, somebody mentioned compassion earlier during public comments, and I think that we need to have compassion in our community and really across the country and across the world. I think that we need to respect that people may have different opinions on this issue. And I think that we need to stop with the name calling. I hear the name calling on both sides. We read a letter out by one of our board members that was submitted, and I got to be honest, I was embarrassed to hear the word trolls, bullies, specifically trolls. I found that alarming. I'm really tired of that, and I think we all are. I think we all need to recognize and be respectful of each other and what our decisions are. And I think that that's a real point that needs to be made. And finally, when they talk about vaccine for children, I think that when we talk about, I know that there's rumors going around and concerns about requiring vaccines. I'm sure if that ever gets to the point, there will also be the same discussion whether if they are required, if our students are required, then our staff will be expected to be required. I think, and I don't think anybody feels that might be the right decision to make. So I think that, again, let's all be respectful of each other's opinions. I've lost members of my family to COVID, and I've also, thank goodness, had members of my family get COVID, and they've been fine. So it's a trying time right now, but let's try to be compassionate and be respectful of each other. Thank you.
President Griffith, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I listened to everybody in the public comments, and I continue to try to do my own research. And what I'm finding is we are following the path that is most likely to lead in the best result for our students and staff, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Okay, and just like Ms. Porra said, I do listen. I read the emails that people send. Sorry. Just like Ms. Porras was saying, I do listen. I do read the emails that I get. Whatever the content, I do read them. I know some people have sent me links to articles. So we do read them. We do listen. And I know there were a few questions that were asked, and many times the board does not comment on things that either are not on the agenda or so. But as President Griffith and Ms. Porra said, we choose safety for our students and staff. That's the bottom line. If that is what will keep our children safe, then that is what we will do. That is our number one priority, is to keep them safe. Mr. Bailey, do you have any comments?
I just I'd like to point out we did make copies for the audience, and thank you for being here, but there are copies of the audience for the audience out on the table regarding the mask requirement. The most recent communications from the state to the school districts across California. So if you're so inclined to read those communications on that matter, they're available on the table as you exit. Thank you.
We will now move on to General Functions Business Services, item 18.1, resolution number 07, 2021-2022, GAN limit rationale. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Linda
I'll
Forrest.
make a motion to adopt resolution number 07, 2021, 2022, the GAN limit, declaring that the appropriations in the budget do not exceed the limitations imposed by proposition number 4.
I'm sorry, Mr. Griffith, I did not hear that.
Okay, I approve to adopt the resolution on the GAN limit, declaring the appropriations for the 2021-2022 budget do not exceed the limitations imposed by proposition 4.
Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Second by Linda Porras. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Ms. Pierce?
Aye.
Ms. Porras?
Aye.
Ms. Jonathan?
Aye.
President Griffith?
Aye.
And Anna Conover's vote is aye. This carries 5-0. Moving on to number 19, General Functions, Educational Services. We have items 19.1 to 19.4. Do we take these as a group or individually?
I move to take General Functions Ed Services 19.1 to 19.4 as a group.
So moved by Tricia Pierce. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Any discussion? Hearing none and no further questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. And we're moving on to 20. 20, General Functions, Personnel Services. We have none. Moving on to 21, General Functions, Student Support Services. We have 21.1 to 21.3. Do we want to take these as a group or individually?
I move to take General Functions Student Support Services 21.1 to 21.3 as a group.
So moved by Tricia Pierce. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Any discussion? Hearing none and no further questions. All those in favor said aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? This carries 5-0. '22, General Function Superintendent. 22.1, first reading of revised Board Policy 1400, Community Relations. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of revised Board Policy 1400, Community Relations between other governmental agencies and the schools?
Moved
Linda
by
Porras.
Tricia Pierce.
I think Linda finished speaking, so is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Second by Tricia Pierce. Is there any discussion? Hearing none and no further questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. Moving on to 23.1, consent items, student matters. Call out of consent items. Mr. Bailey.
Yes, as related to closed session item 3.1, tonight in closed session, the board took action to approve the following student matters. Item 23.1, reinstatement number 18/19-79. This motion carried on a motion by Mrs. Porras, seconded by Mrs. Jonathan. Carried 5-0.
24, consent items, business services. We have items 24.1 through 24.11. 24.11, do we want to take these items as a group or individually?
I move to take consent items, business services 24.1 to, can you move it down?
4.11.
24 19.11 as a group. Thank you.
So moved by Tricia Pierce. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Any discussion? Hearing none. Calls for further questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. And we are on 25 consent items, educational services. We have items 25.1 through 25.4. Do we want to take these items as a group or individually?
I move to take consent items, ed services 25.1 to 25.4 as a group.
So moved by Tricia Pierce. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Any discussion? Hearing none, calls for further question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? This carries 5-0. Consent items, item 26, personnel services, there are none. We move on to 27, consent items, student support services. We have items 27.1 to 27.4. Do we want to take these items as a group or individually?
I move that we take 27.1 to 27.4 as a group.
So
Linda
moved
Porras.
by Linda Porras. Second, is there a second?
Second by Tricia Pierce.
Seconded by Tricia Pierce. Any discussion? Hearing none and no further questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. Number 28, consent items, superintendent. There are none. 29, personnel action certificated. Is 29.1. Is there a motion to approve item 29.1, personnel actions?
So moved, Linda Porras.
So moved by Linda
Second,
Porras.
Tricia Pierce.
Second by Tricia Pierce. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Gregory Murray is retiring from La Quinta High School after 6 years. Joseph Taylor Jr. is retiring after 12 years from La Quinta High School. And Michael Tyler from Shadow Hills is retiring after 14 years of service with our district. So that's a total of 32 years. And I want to congratulate all of them on reaching the finish line.
Yes. If there are no further questions or discussions, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. 30, personnel actions classified. Is there a motion to approve item 30.1, personnel actions classified?
So moved, Tricia Pierce.
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Is there any discussion?
Yes, we have one retirement from the classified. It's Sandra Cortez from Madison Elementary School, where she's a school site monitor, and she's retiring after 3 years of service, and congratulations to Sandra.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? This carries 5-0. Number 31, call out of closed session actions. Mr. Bailey?
I have none.
Number 32, suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Ms. Pierce, do you have any?
No, none.
Ms. Porras, do you have any?
None, thank you.
Ms. Jonathan, do you have any?
None at this time. Thank you.
President Griffiths, do you have any?
No, I don't.
And I have none. Moving on to number 33, announcements. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education will be on Tuesday, October 5th at 7 p.m. at the District Education Center Boardroom at 47950 Dune Palms Road, La Quinta, California. Moving on to number 34, we will reconvene to close session to discuss further items, closed session items. on Tuesday, October 5th at 7 p.m. at the District Education Center Boardroom at 47950 Dune Palms Road,